Hello and welcome to the SCOUTCAST. There is a blank and a double game week to consider, and two of us at least are hoping for an away day Bruno goal or two, and hoping he does it again during the show. So that's all to come. My name is Joe.
My name's Sam.
And my name's Ted.
Welcome everyone. Sam, what is coming up in the show?
Well, now that we've got double and blank fixtures for game weeks 18 and 19, we're going to consider the best ways to deal with this tricky time in the season. We're also going to talk to Ted, who's well known for his stats and graphics over on his YouTube channel, and he'll be taking us through some of his latest research. Then we've got the single game week teams with great fixtures over Christmas to consider, especially the mighty Spurs and of course Man City, and what we're going to do about them and their assets. And we'll also be checking in on how my captain Bruno is up to tonight, and looking at the fixtures for them in more detail. I'll be picking a differential for the next 4 weeks, and we'll be revealing our transfers and captaincy picks for game week 14.
Excellent. Before we move on to just see how our game weeks are going so far, I just want to mention Ted's lamp in the background. Because we had FPL Prince on last week, he had an excellent lamp, but that's not a lamp, Prince.
I mean,
Ted, that's a lamp.
I'm channeling FPL Prince right now.
Yeah.
That's a UFO.
I feel like he's raised the bar for backdrops, and I just had to, just try my best to emulate him in some way.
It's excellent.
I should have bought a lamp.
I know. They're miles away. My lamps. They're not very good anyway. Right, let's move on. Speaking of not very good, how about that for a segue? Here's my team. So I'm actually okay so far this week. Pretty low scoring. I've got 43 going into today's fixtures. No Grealish.
Oh, sorry,
no.
Joe.
Oh,
it's a Sheffield United goal.
Fantastic.
Oh, no.
Fantastic. That's just what I was after. Sheffield United deciding to turn up on.
Before we went live, we were just saying to Ted that we wanted him to lose his Man United clean sheet, and what's happened?
Oh no! It looks like a goalkeeper error as well.
Oh no!
Oh, no.
Henderson.
Oh, it's from Henderson with his. Oh dear.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay, so you can scratch off one of those clean sheet points from Fernandes as my captain. So that's down there. So hopefully he can get a hat-trick to make up for that. So I'm on 43 points. McCarthy in goal. Kufau, who was new in. I got him in for Justin because of fixtures, double game week in mind. We already knew that West Ham had a double game week. And we looked at some attacking stats from defenders. His chance creation last week was great. And I did lots of searches on tables, and under 5 million, around the 4.5 million mark, he was the one. He was the one to get. So got him in. Paid me immediately. I've got Chilwell, Ayling. I've got the only Leeds defender who can't score. I've got Soucek. Still chucking on. A rare blank from the great Soucek. De Bruyne, another blank despite his best efforts. Fernandes captain tonight in play. Salah doing what he does, scoring. Calvert-Lewin doing what he does, accumulating points. Kane, who is lovely, didn't do anything. Well, he almost scored an amazing header. It was just too hard.
I don't know.
He just really, really headed it so
All
hard
he
it
had to do
went.
was just touch it and it would have gone in.
No, he decided to absolutely fire it into the ground. And then Bamford doing what he does, scoring. And on my bench, hardly anything. We'll come to my bench a bit later because I've gone as deep as I can go. There isn't anything left. I'm going to have to make some big decisions, and I have 2 free transfers. So
hang on a minute, Joe.
Oh, yeah.
You can't say Lamptey 6 points is hardly anything.
Oh, sorry. God, I completely forgot. I completely even forgot I've got Lamptey because he was suspended. Yeah, sorry, Lamptey. I would have played Lamptey instead of Kufau. I was always going to play Ayling and Chilwell, so I'm sort of up on that deal. But yes, you're quite right. I've got 6 points in Lamptey, and I'm definitely playing him next week against Sheffield United, who can't score, or so I thought. Ted, you are in second so far, but all really close. 37, so just behind there. You have Martinez, Cancelo, Lindelof, who you're hoping for a clean sheet from against the League One side who can't score. Chilwell, Fernandes, Son, De Bruyne captain, Salah, Grealish, who despite I don't know how he didn't score. I only listened to a bit until half time, but apparently you were telling me before on air, it was just carried on. More and more Villa chances, no points. Welbeck and Adams up front, so in a 3-5-2. Dallas on the bench, but then again, that's fair enough, to be honest. Looking at the rest of your team, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there was a reason why I brought you up on the Lamptey 6 points on the bench, so I could feel a little bit more comfortable about benching Dallas at 7 points.
Well, Lamptey does Dallas, definitely, on this one.
Yeah, it wasn't the bad choice, because I think Leeds are top for big chances conceded in the last 6. So I was fully expecting them to concede, even to lay scoring Newcastle. So it's just a shame that he turned up and went with a goal. But yeah, it's 37, but now I'm on 49 with a nice Martinez haul. I think that might have dropped to 48. I think he might have lost a bonus point. Regardless, I've lost the Lindelof clean sheet within seconds to one of the lowest scoring sides in the league.
Ever.
So I'm pretty upset about that. Although some would say Lindelof isn't the most inspired transfer, though, I'd say. But with double game weeks coming up, I'm not too upset with a 4.8 million Man United defender. So, but yeah, the rest of the team, Chilwell with a nice assist. I said last week, after my monster midfield of Fernandes, Son, De Bruyne and Salah were underwhelming, it seems 3 of them have listened to me and come up with some returns, although De Bruyne's was 2 bonus points with a captaincy. So it's not the end of the world. But Fernandes, I fully expect to do something tonight, and for you guys captaining, that will be welcome. Welbeck, a short-term punt, specifically targeting Fulham and Sheffield United next week. Adams just keeps ticking along. Lovely owning him. But we'll be looking to upgrade Welbeck shortly. So I'm pretty happy with that team, and we'll talk about blanks and double game weeks and my plans going forward.
Yes, you got Douglas there on your bench. I can't take my eyes off him, because I know he's 3.8 and he's deeper than even I can ever go in my team. So
you have gone deeper. Having him. Yeah. It's been nice having him, but I feel it's time to just part ways, I think, soon. So.
Yeah, well, definitely, since he's not playing at all. But yeah, but I'm pleased to see it. As someone who's gone really dirt cheap on their bench, it's a lovely sight to see him there. Sam, so your team, like me, you're hoping for some glory from Fernandes. For the benefit of those on the podcast, you've got McCarthy, Chilwell, Cresswell, all the Wells, Diaz, Salah, Son, Fernandes captain, Soucek, Kane, Calvert-Lewin and Watkins. So nothing from Watkins despite Villa's best efforts. You also got Lamptey on the bench. Everyone's got Lamptey on the bench. Walker, Peters, you've got a nice bench actually. You've got points. Walker, Peters, Basuma and Forster. I mean, it's just above average, so you must be pleased so far, especially with the captain to play.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's okay. I think the SN goal was a bit irritating, because not only does it get you minus 2 for the points, that he gets for playing, but also obviously loses the clean sheet on that basis. So frustrating from that point of view. Lamptey, it is what it is. I think I benched him on the basis that I thought that Chilwell and Cresswell had better potential this week. Even against Fulham looks a bit better last week against Liverpool. I thought they might kind of maintain that this week, and they just didn't. And Lamptey has been injured, missed game week 12. Sorry. So the fact that I was still a bit unsure that he was going to play the whole game. So he got benched. Apologies, Lamptey. I should have played you. But the rest of them, I think there's a few just unlucky ones there. Watkins, I'm starting to lose patience with now. I've had him for a few weeks, and he's one of them that you keep holding because the fixtures are nice, so you keep him, but actually he's just doing nothing week upon week upon week. So I think he'll be going this week. I've burnt now 4 transfers over the course of this season, and I burnt another one last week because I just didn't feel that I could take Watkins out ahead of Burnley. But I think I'll be using one of my transfers this week to transfer him out. Probably. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when I look at Villa, it's sort of... I was interested in Matt Target, but he was on 4 yellow cards And then they've got the doubles and the blank game weeks in mind, and also it's Grealish really is the one.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, Watkins it's sort of a muchness. You've got the Bamfords, Calvert-Lewin, and then an Adams, and then it goes down the list, and he's sort of behind that lot really. But I think Adams could be a good manoeuvre for you, perhaps, especially with the double game weeks in mind.
I mean, I already have 3 Southampton players, so that will be a challenge because it means making a change with one of my keepers. But let's see.
Well, let's see what you're going to do actually around the double game weeks and the blanks, because we do have some news on that. So that's came in this week, annoyingly about quarter of an hour before the deadline of the midweek. So there's not much time to think about it or prepare. But luckily, the Boffins Fantasy Football Scout Season Ticker Hub have developed their lovely graphics as they do, and yeah, they've got the blanks in there for game week 18 and game week 19. So what we know so far: West Ham, Leeds, Chelsea, Liverpool, West Brom, Southampton, Manchester United, Leicester, Fulham and Burnley all miss a fixture in game week 18. It's absolute carnage. But then they all play again twice, game week 19. So meanwhile, in game week 19, all those teams have a double game week. The teams with the best fixtures look to be Leeds and West Ham on paper, but there's lots more to consider. There's the small matter of Man City and Manchester United having a game in hand, so they are. So that's got to be rearranged sometime. There's been hints on social media today that the Manchester United game could possibly squeeze in to game week 18, and the Man City game could possibly squeeze into game week 19. As I said, absolutely nothing hard and stone about that at the moment, but it's just something to bear in mind. And it's annoying for me because I've got 2 transfers. Ideally, I would just use none, because I would like to have 2 transfers going into the following week when we have a bit more information. But we've had some community questions on this, and I'll find out what both of you are doing. So FPL Matt says, I've used my wildcard and planning to free hit in game week 18 and use transfers to build a team for game week 19. Should I build now for a bench boost or triple captain, a reliable option like Salah? And FPL Robbo, what is the best chip strategy for game week 18-19? Tony, who's a Leeds fan, so he must be pleased with this double game week, asks what the best strategy for an effective bench boost would be. Can he get away with just a non-playing keeper, just go in with 3 perhaps? Pat Bonner, bench boost or triple captain game week 19, and when should we use our free hit? French Gooner, is there merit in using a second wild card in game week 17 to manage game weeks 18 and 19? So as you can see, everyone's asking different questions because every team's different. So there is no right or wrong, but all we can do is sort of explain what we're doing and see if it helps anyone else. So let's go to you first, Ted. What's your chip position at the moment? Do you have your first wild card still left to play, or?
No, I've used my first wild card.
Okay. So what's your plans then around these doubles and blanks?
Yeah, so I think if I had my first wild card, I think the optimal strategy would be to use it by when it expires ahead of game week 16, which is I think the 28th of December, and then chuck in all of the double game week players into your team, and then bench boost in 19, free hit in 18. But for me, I don't have that luxury, so I'm going to have to use my free transfers to either bring in players for game week 18 and free hit in 19, or use my free transfers to bring in players for double game week 19 and free hit in 18. And I've settled on the latter purely because, and I think this is a really good piece of advice, if you are struggling to decide which game week to free hit in, I would just build a couple of free hit squads. One for 18, and keep the players that you already own in your squad that play in that game week, and see which team is further away from your current squad. And the team that's furthest away, just free hit in that game week. So for me, my squad already lends itself to use my free transfers to bring in players for the double game week 19 and free hit in 18. So the fact that I have McCarthy and Martinez already as two goalkeepers, which would be quite rare. I don't think anyone, because it's gone out of fashion a bit having two rotating goalkeepers. And to be honest, I class that as a bit of a mistake from my point of view, but I've sort of been rewarded with the teams that double. So the plan is to try and keep Son in as long as possible, but use him as the cash cow to upgrade some of the bench players. So the plan is I'm going to save a transfer this week.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have 2 free transfers next week. I'm going to do Cancelo down to Kufal and Welbeck up to Bamford, and then save another 2 transfers. In game week 17, I will do Son to Bowen and Douglas to Reece James,
Mm-hmm.
and then free hit in 18, getting all of these players that I don't own, such as Calvert-Lewin and Kane and Wilson, Zaha, Sterling, De Bruyne. I do own De Bruyne. And then in 19, upgrade Brewster to Antonio. So I'll end up having 12 double game week players with singles of De Bruyne, Grealish, and who's the last one? Martinez. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that strategy. I'm using 5 transfers to get double game week players upgraded.
Well, I think for teams now, the way the fixtures have fallen, game week 18 looks good for those who haven't used a wild card yet, and also those who have used a wild card to free hit, because you're missing 5 fixtures there. So you got a whole bunch of teams, and so you could out. So ordinarily, for example, Man City are playing in game week 18. They have a very good fixture against Brighton at home. Now, ordinarily, I don't want 3 Man City, but for this fixture, I might, and having the knowledge of who played in the previous fixtures in cup games, I might be keen to triple up there, go for Sterling, De Bruyne, and Mahrez, something like that, or a defender, couple of defenders maybe. But ordinarily I wouldn't really have them. But yeah, game week 19, yeah, I think that we can build up, because there's lots of cheap assets at West Ham and Leeds.
Absolutely,
for example.
Yeah.
Sam, what's your thoughts? Have you got a wild card left, by the way? So.
No, I used my wild card, and my team's quite split. So when I sat down and worked out how many players I had that would play in the blank game week, and how many players that I would have play in the double game week, I've got 7 for the blank game week, and I've got 8 for the double game week. So I'm kind of right in the middle of, it's a straight choice really between how you want to go. But for me, the free hit, the best use of the free hit is to gain as much as you can from it. So it's my strategy is always to try to be aggressive where possible with my chips, and therefore using a bench boost or a triple captain on a double game week is a better strategy, because it's the potential to give you greater points is higher than if you free hit in that period of time. So in my view, I am going to play my free hit in game week 18. I'm going to either bench boost or triple captain. I haven't yet decided yet which way I'm going to go with it in game week 19. I think there is a big part of me that wants to use the triple captain at that stage and hold the bench boost for a little bit later, because I feel like towards the end of the season, the bench boost can, for me anyway, it could be slightly better used because I have a non-playing keeper, and towards the latter end of the season I tend to have more money to move around because of team value and all of that kind of stuff. So the chances of being able to get 4 bench boost players out is higher at a latter point. Plus it's after I would have used my second wild card, and so I've got the potential to bring in a second keeper. But I think, what Ted was saying all sounded, I was listening intently thinking, yeah, that all sounds great. But one thing I will just say is that Son has a lovely, lovely fixture in game week 19. And it's always the case that FPL managers go, I must invest in the double game weekers, and they overlook the single game weekers with really nice fixtures. And Spurs playing Sheffield United that week, there will be a lot of people that free hit in that week, ditch the Spurs players, and suddenly you've got nice differentials in your single single game week players who could actually do you really well. And I think there'll be a lot of people that take Son out, like Ted was just suggesting, and then massively regret it a bit later on.
Well, yeah, I mean, Son is so hugely owned at the moment.
Yeah.
One of the things, so I'm in a very similar situation to both of you. So I've got my my first wildcard's been used. I happen to be quite well set up already for the double game week. I've got 2 Leeds, I've got 2 West Ham, and I have some Salah and Fernandes in place. So I've got those key captains as well, and I'm geared up for it, and we've obviously got transfers left, but I'm facing a choice of which which chip to use, and I sort of need to make that decision now, which sounds a bit weird, because the way my team is set up, I have 2 free transfers this week, and I can start using it now to build up that bench boost, or I've got Mitchell, Dale Stevens, those lads. Or I could just keep them and just keep maximising that 11. And in that case, the triple captain would be Salah. So, or Fernandes. Now, it's fallen kindly. Salah's got 2 home games, and Fernandes has 2 away games. So, traditionally, it's ideal. So, a triple captaincy is a really good chip that week, I think. But at the same time, a bench boost is potentially. So I have to face that decision this week. Do I look at the triple captain or the bench boost? Because I need to start making moves to upgrade those players now. And I haven't really got much else to do. But I'm thinking of a solution. And you mentioned Son there. And I think Son is a key player at the moment. I think we're going to look at some of his stats a bit later. But also he's so clinical. His fixtures are good. The next couple, Leicester, I think, is a great fixture for him. Wolves is hard to call, but he can easily get something from it. And then we've got up on the screen, Game Week 18, Villa away. Game Week 19, Sheffield United there. And Game Week 17 as well. From Game Week 17, it's Fulham, isn't it? So he's got great fixtures. It coincides with KDB's fixtures in a couple of game weeks getting bad. But I'm actually tempted to make that move now, which people might think is a bit crazy.
Man United goal.
Fernandes.
Rashford.
Fernandes assist.
That is not the right Manchester United player.
That's not how you spell Fernandes.
I didn't quite catch it. Well, I don't know whether it was a Fernandes assist or not.
Must be.
Does not.
We're waiting.
I'm just watching.
This is good podcast listening, by the way.
No, it looks like it.
Oh my God! Was it a Lindelof assist?
No way. This is a momentous Scoutcast moment.
What is happening? What is happening here?
2020, what are you doing to us? This is an awful year.
Good grief.
This is amazing.
Okay. Well, I feel quite happy that we've got some Scoutcast happiness from that assist.
Turning into a match cast, this is.
This is incredible. Happening? So hopefully that is the first of many Manchester United goals to punish Sheffield United for daring to be good when we didn't want them to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put while we celebrate Lindelof's assist, which is I'm still amazed by. I'm going to put some pictures up on the screen, and this is a sea of names. And what this is from the Rate My Team tool in the Fantasy Football Scout members area. And what I did is I just sorted by who's going to get the most points according to this prediction, which is looks at all sorts of things, chances of starting, their pedigree of scoring, assisting, being involved in goals, and also bookies odds in terms of clean sheet potential. All of that information is all channeled in there, and the professor has crunched the numbers. And this is Game Week 19. Salah absolutely top. Up there with an estimate. Usually I would say that's a conservative estimate, getting 14 points, but I'll take that easily. It's triple captain with 14 points, very nice. Fernandes, Manchester United, who though he didn't assist just now, Lindelof did, is getting nearly 12 points there. And then you've got the likes of Mane. Vardy is a great option to have. And then you start getting some value players as well. You've got Bamford, you've got the Liverpool, you've got Alexander-Arnold, who is expensive for a defender, but in relative terms, still relatively cheap. Rashford and Manchester United, who's just scored. One of the reasons I quite like getting Son in is because I already have Kane. I don't want to go into Game Week 19 with both Son and Kane. Having both Son and Kane gives me the option in Game Week 19 to go into there with one of them, and swapping one for another. Son to Rashford is a move. Kane to Vardy is a move. And as we can see from the Rate My Team tool here, Vardy and Rashford are both predicted to do very well that week. So I think that could work. Anyway, that's the plan. But then you look at some of these other players as well. So you've got lots of West Ham in there. Bowen, Fabianski, Antonio if he's fit. So there's loads of value options there. You move down, you've got Meslier at Leeds, Southampton, Danny Ings, and Johnston at West Brom. Sam Allardyce has taken over West Brom. West Brom played twice. Sam Allardyce in charge. So suddenly I'm starting to think, should I get a West Brom defender in for a bench boost? That might actually work. But it's at the moment, on current evidence, no. But who knows what Sam Allardyce is going to do to them. But I just thought I'd put that up there because it gives an idea of the sort of players that we should be thinking about. I'll just mention Souček there. I did players that are predicted to get at least 7 points in Game Week 19. And Souček squeezes in there along with Johnston and Pope down at the bottom. So
Joe, can I try and sell you the bench boost for 19?
Oh yeah, no, I'm open. I'm an open book with the bench boost and triple captain.
Yeah. So I think the general consensus is it's going to be the biggest double game week. And normally that means the bench boost is the best time to play it. But what's more is that the three teams that offer cheap assets, West Ham, Leeds, and what's the other one? Southampton. They're all informed. They're all informed teams with assets that are performing. Yeah. So it makes a huge amount of sense to invest in these assets, which we probably would have done anyway. The likes of Shea Adams, the likes of Bamford, the likes of people are eyeing up Antonio if he was back fit this weekend. We've got people like Soufal and Souček. There's a lot of hype about those three teams in particular. And the fact that they have a double game week means it's conducive to having a squad of 15 players, which you can spread the cost. You can have all of those comfortably in your squad. So for me, the bench boost is a no-brainer, and we save the triple captain for a later game week. But it depends on your side, of course, and if you can get 15 players in. But for me, it makes sense.
We've had a few questions about if you've already used a free hit. I have seen a few teams around that have used their free hit already. In that case, game week 18 is the thing you need to be navigating. So either you can use your wildcard before it to navigate game week 19. So if you've got your second wildcard, use that around there and start planning. No, you can't use your wildcard. Sorry, scratch that. Getting confused with the fixtures there. Well, you start just planning now for that free hit, and don't necessarily think get 11 players out. Just get the best you can get out. I did do some other research on game week 18. Not as great, obviously, because it's just a single fixture. But if you can start loading up now, so if you've used your game week, if you've used your free hit chip and you're looking at game week 18, Man City, Sterling and De Bruyne, they're the standouts there. Kane at Tottenham, Son at Tottenham. Aubameyang at Arsenal is not a bad shout as well. So they're your sort of premiums you should be looking at. And looking at some of the cheaper ones, Podence at Wolves, Calvert-Lewin, and some of the Man City defenders as well. They could be offering good value. And and Aston Villa in general, obviously Grealish and Watkins and Wilson at Newcastle. So there are options there. But as Ted said, it's hard to say if you've used your free hit, you're missing out. But as Ted said, there is a sort of a perfect storm in Game Week 19 with cheap defenders and midfielders having really good double fixtures then. But nevertheless, I think there are opportunities in Game Week 18. But don't necessarily think get 11 out. Just get as many good players as you can out, because that's what you're going to be competing against free hit teams. So have that in mind. How can you compete with them? Game Week 19 should be okay. You don't have to have 15. You don't have to have 11 if you're bench boosting 15 double game weekers, because there's plenty of single game weekers as well. Especially at Spurs and Man City. Let's move on. Now, Ted, on your videos, you have a number of graphics. So we thought we'd seize the chance really to for you to explain it a bit more, because I find them quite useful. I looked at it at first and thought, what am I looking at? And then when I got it, I thought, that's what I'm looking at. So, so if your chance, what's that? Another goal?
It's Martial this time.
Assist by Fernandez, surely.
Let's have a look.
Hang on, I'm not sure who got the assist. I just looked up and saw Martial put the ball in the net.
Pogba.
Oh, what? This is.
Joe, what is happening to us?
What day is this where Grealish has 1,000 shots against Burnley and can't score?
Fernandez assisted the assister there, I'm afraid.
There's no points.
That is no use to man nor beast.
No, quite right.
Okay, well, let's move on to some graphics. For the
This is everyone's gonna cheer you all up.
Okay, so I've got you've sent us a couple of graphics to put up. So the first one, for those listening on the podcast, this is great listening for if you're listening on the podcast version. But I'll try and describe it as best I can. It's essentially a pitch. It's a pitch of a football match, and you've got big chances scale on one side, small chances on the other, and basically, if you're doing well on big chances and small chances, you move up the scale towards diagonally. So you're sort of in the left-hand corner by the left-hand corner flag, and it sort of shows you if you're up there, you're sort of doing okay. Have I explained that all right? Ted, you explained it better.
Not too bad.
Yeah. What is this about?
I mean, I think what it does is we've got all 20 teams here, and this is the attacking version. So we're looking at the shots that a team has had in the last 6 game weeks, but those have been split up into difficult efforts and easy efforts. And what I like about this is usually when we look at stats to analyze whether a team's doing well or not, we look at expected goals, for example, but that just conveys one number. It says, you've got if you've got a high expected goal figure, it means you're doing well. If you've got a low one, it means you're not creating too much. But what I do like about splitting out the individual efforts within that XG figure, it shows us the dynamic. It shows how each team plays, for example. So if a team has loads of small chances or more difficult efforts, but not necessarily clear-cut opportunities like big chances, it may skew how we look at the stats. So it might say you've got this team's having a lot of chances, but it's not necessarily having that impact in the quality of those chances. So it's quality versus quantity here, basically. So we can see Man City there, top right. They've had the most big chances. They've had the second most small chances after Leeds. They've had 9 goals in the last 6 game weeks, which is arguably underperforming. You could say that the teams around them, Chelsea, Man United, have scored 10, but potentially Man City need to have scored more if they're in a better position on that graph. Whereas Leeds, they've had the most number of small chances, but not necessarily creating that many big chances. So they're potentially underperforming with those 9 goals. The interesting one for me is Tottenham on that graph. They are one of the teams that have created the fewest chances in the last 6 game weeks. And yes, they have played Man City, they've played Liverpool, they've played Arsenal, they've played Chelsea, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that probably has subdued their number of chances. But they have played West Brom, Burnley, and Crystal Palace, and they've only scored 1 goal against those teams. So potentially, Tottenham, you're saying, well, they're not having as many chances, and the reliance on Kane and Son, reliance on them being very clinical is very apparent. Whereas the likes of Man City, Man United, Chelsea, they're having loads and loads of chances, and the possibility of scoring a goal is possibly more likely. Now, why would you say that the difference is of just having? Why don't we just go number of shots, and that would be easier? But I think if a team only has a large number of big chances or a large number of small chances, it makes it less predictive for them to score goals consistently. So a big one is usually Leicester and Jamie Vardy. Jamie Vardy only likes to score big chances. He hasn't actually scored a difficult chance this season yet. All of his goals have been big chances. But the problem is with big chances is they're quite rare, they're quite fleeting. And the reliance on his teammates to create them for him is completely evident, which is why sometimes in some games, those big chances fall away. And therefore, Leicester tend to suffer more erratic results. So they lost to Fulham. They lost to Everton yesterday, or was it Tuesday? So it's just judging how a team plays. Do you want to go on to the defences, Joe, or do you have any questions?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Sam, did you have any questions about this? Particularly, I mean, I'm eyeing up more Spurs players. You are fully Spursed up.
Of course I am.
But that says to me, it says so Tottenham are sort of halfway with big chances. They're obviously converting those big chances, but they're really low on the small chances. So they're not interested in little chances. Is that as a Spurs fan? Is that what you pick up, Sam, as well, watching them?
Yeah, I think the thing is that, if we rolled this graphic out to show the whole season, it would look different, because at the start of the season we were playing very different football. And I do think that the last few game weeks, I know that Ted was saying that we've played Burnley and teams and Brighton, but those teams they really set in and they defended incredibly well, and so there wasn't that many opportunities for chances, but yet Spurs still won the games. And of course, it's still Kane and Son. And of course, with the way that they play, they almost guaranteed some bonus points. So for me, I look at the graphic and I think, okay, so they're not having that many small chances, but they're doing good things with the chances that they are creating. So I think there's certain teams that it's really useful for. So like Manchester City, for example, it's really useful when you're looking at them, and the same with Leeds, because you can see the opportunity for more is there. With Spurs, I think if you look at it on paper, it looks as if they're overachieving for what they have. Whereas I think the reality is when you watch them, there's definitely more potential for more than that graphic is maybe suggesting, just on the way that they play and because of the teams that they've been up against. I mean, coming up in the next few weeks against the likes of Leicester and Fulham, I would expect Spurs to be more creative in those.
Essentially, in this graph, moving much more towards the right-hand
going
corner
up and
flag,
over,
which is where you want them to move to. Man City are right up there, and I'm finding them very frustrating. But I don't know whether that's because I'm just so used to them hammering teams, and now they're not. Leeds I find interesting. So for those listening on the podcast, Leeds are basically number of small chances. They're basically in goal. They're in the stands. They're just getting on a bus home. They're absolutely a huge amount of chances, but halfway on the big chances. So Bamford's ticking along, but he's getting a lot of chances, a hell of a lot of chances. But he's not getting a hell of a lot of big chances compared to Chelsea, City, Manchester
Leeds
United.
is that team. I use the word gung ho. They seem when they're on the attack, everyone just seems to flood the penalty area and they just go for it. They shoot on sight. They create a huge amount of chances. Whether that's big chances or not is irrelevant. They just shoot, and see what happens. Which is incredible. Now, what I find interesting about Man City, Joe, you mentioned it. Earlier in the season, Man City were roughly where Leeds were now. So they were underperforming on the big chances, on the clear-cut opportunities, which is why none of us really owned a Man City asset until maybe 3 or 4 game weeks ago. So it's always worth watching the big chances and seeing if they're improving that figure. And if they've got the ideal combination of small chances and big chances, then that's the key. That's the clue to go for that team. And which is why I'm not going to get rid of KDB, even though there is...
No, I'm getting worried about it now. Looking at that, I'm thinking I should be hanging on to him. And Chelsea...
You think you're getting rid?
Well, yeah. I mean, as I said, I've got no wiggle room, and I do want Son. Someone's got to go. This is something all managers have been facing all for the last month. You can't have them all. You want so-and-so, you have to get rid of so-and-so. How many managers have transferred in and out? Salah, Kane, Vardy, Fernandes, KDB, etc. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And it's not. I don't even think it's upside chasing at the moment. It's just like, I just want this player, but someone's got to go. And it's just, it's very frustrating for us managers. Do you want to move on to these defences? So
yeah, let's go to the
this one here is so what we've got, the graph here. Once again, you've got the half a pitch. You got small chances conceded, big chances conceded. Being near the right corner flag, is that good or bad now?
Very bad.
Very bad.
Very bad.
Okay. So this is very bad. So you don't want to be there. So you want to be far away from the right hand. Sorry, the left, the corner flag, basically.
Right hand corner, let's just say. Yeah, so I think this one's actually more interesting because we've got teams in all four corners, and that's why this graph is really useful, because it doesn't necessarily just has a ranking of defences from best to worst. We've got West Brom there, top right, having just played Man City, the worst defence you could possibly have. The most amount of small chances conceded, the most amount of big chances. We target those for captaincy, potentially. And Sheffield United aren't too far behind, although they seem to be doing all right against Man U.
Well, they're down. They're losing 2-1, so...
Yeah. I expect some more goals from Man United, to be honest. Sheffield United haven't got any clean sheets so far in the last 6 game weeks.
It's only half time. So, come on.
Well, we'll see. Okay. So, yeah, West Brom are the worst. Man City and Chelsea, bottom left, they're conceding the fewest of both types of chances. They're the most solid defensively. Man City, more frustratingly for us FPL owners, seem to rotate their squad. So none of their assets are actually that secure in that starting lineup. But Chelsea assets, no rotation goes on too much. So Reece James, Chilwell, Zuma, and there's no surprise why those assets are the most popular at the moment. Now, what is interesting, I think, about this is you've got Liverpool top left. Basically, the teams on the left-hand side of this graph are the possession teams. They have the most possession in the games because they like to play that way. And what it means is that they concede fewer chances on the whole, fewer small chances. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not vulnerable to big chances. And that is through counter-attack specifically. Liverpool have been really struggling with a lack of consistency in their lineup defensively, let alone their performances. So that's really, really hurt their solidity at the back, especially with Van Dijk missing out. So Liverpool, they've actually conceded the fewest small chances, but they're on par with conceding the same amount of chances or more amount of chances than Fulham, which is incredible.
So that's why. So for example, Son scored.
Potentially.
That's why those types of players you would. There's for sake of argument, the Vardys of this world, those who take big chances. They're the sort of strikers and midfielders that can score against Liverpool, whereas those that just shoot from anywhere, the Harvey Barneses, they've got no chance.
Yeah, so that's a nice segue. If we look at Tottenham, bottom right, your Harvey Barnes of this world, Tottenham are going to soak up that pressure. They sit deep. They're like a top 4 Burnley this year. They have a defensive.
Now.
Okay.
Well,
now.
Hear me out.
In defensive world, that's a compliment.
Hear me out.
Have you seen Burnley?
Well, they just kept 30 shots from Villa out, so I would definitely, I'd take that as a Brighton fan. I'd go, Burnley, I'll take that.
I've annoyed Sam. I think I might stay quiet for the rest of the pod.
Tottenham, they are a good defence.
They're very good. And under Mourinho, they've really, really solidified, certainly this year. And I think there were signs of it last year. But the difference is Tottenham have conceded very few big chances, but they've conceded a lot of small chances, unlike Chelsea and Man City. But they've kept the most amount of clean sheets in the last 6 game weeks with 4. So what that means is that they're going to concede a lot of shots on goal, which is great for Lloris as a goalkeeper. He's going to have a lot of saves to make. But they have that defensive capability where they're going to keep more clean sheets. So really, this points out that Lloris, for me, I keep going on about it, is the best set and forget goalkeeper. It's a pity that he's 5.5 million or whatever it is, because otherwise I would go for him with no doubt. But it's just interesting. Liverpool and Tottenham's XG is fairly similar over this period, but you couldn't pick more teams which are further away on this graph because they just behave completely different. And that is what I find useful about this sort of this graphic.
No, it's great for you to explain it, because as I said, when I first saw it, I thought, and then once you see it and once you can visualise That it's actually, as you said, it's the way teams are behaving, and you can sort of see where Tottenham are in a graph form there, and you can see. So you talk about Tottenham's defence there, and then so Burnley are conceding a number of big chances as well, and also those small chances. So you can see why they may concede or they may not, but at the same time they're going to be facing a lot of those small chances, which is why Nick Pope has always been historically a great goalkeeper to have.
Absolutely.
And West Brom up there as well. Johnston, as we saw against Manchester City, could be a great asset. He's obviously conceding a lot of big chances. If Sam Allardyce can get the big chances conceded down, but maintain the rubbish chances that he's facing, Johnston could be, we're talking Larice Pope level, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, this is why I was going on about Carl Darlow last time, Joe, because of Newcastle's position. Yeah. But they have to keep the big chances down. The number of clean sheets is going to be solely dependent on the ability of the goalkeeper as well. You can see Burnley have had 3 clean sheets in the last 6 game weeks, but they're in a poor position on this graph. And that's probably down to the heroics of Nick Pope. So Everton last year, they were bottom left, but Pickford just completely underperformed and they conceded way more goals than they should have. So the goalkeeper's going to play a massive part here too.
Sam, before we move on, did you have any other questions about this?
No, I mean, I think if you watch Spurs, you see that this is exactly how they play. They openly invite small chances. They openly invite teams on, because the best form, it's the best way that they attack is through a counter attack, very fast through Kane and Son. Exactly as they did against Liverpool last night. And you saw that throughout the whole game. And sitting next to Lee watching it last night, he was incredibly frustrated for 90 minutes because they were having chance after chance after chance, but we were forcing them into the chances that we know we deal with. So the likes of Dyer and Toby, they'll always be up there for a header. And so they're always looking good for the ICT index and therefore the bonus points if they can keep a clean sheet, which they have been. And over the next few weeks, there looks to be games where they can. I think the small chances are really interesting when you're looking for teams that you want to get some upside for. So if you're looking at teams where you think, well, that's a really nice run of fixtures for a few teams, which ones are going to concede the most small chances? Because those small chances probably won't equate to a goal. But what they will equate to is good bonus point potential for the players that you're talking about, or indeed, as Ted said earlier, good save point potential if you're talking about goalkeepers, because that upside particularly over Christmas, if you're talking about players that are guaranteed starts, that upside that they could potentially get in bonus and save points is massive in terms of differentiating your team from other people's.
Yes,
absolutely.
I was looking in terms of from attacking point of view as well. Looking at Leeds up there is always interesting. I mean, we've seen they are conceding lots, but they are attacking a lot as well and scoring a lot. So they're a good team, captain and player facing, which even though our beloved Fernandes has done nothing so far.
Not yet.
Fernandes captaincy at home to Leeds. That's what I've got my eye on for next week. I haven't necessarily got it on, say, for example, KDB against Southampton, because we see Southampton they're not conceding a lot of small chances and they're about halfway on the big chances there. So they're a sort of... I sort of like Southampton's defence. You sort of know what you're going to get. You're going to get good value against teams that aren't delivering lots of big chances. So I don't know. With Man City, they've got De Bruyne who delivers big chances, but can anyone actually get on to them? So it's a good time to move on to. We'll talk about Spurs in a bit more, but also City. Bring them into the chat. Spurs and City so far have no single game week teams, but they're going to be overlooked, and we've got the fixtures up on the screen at the moment, and they're good. So yeah, Sam, what's this all about?
Well, as is always the case when we get blanks and especially double game weeks getting announced, FPL managers go into a frenzy of feeling like they need to invest in multiple double game weekers, fill their teams with 15 and make sure that they've got as much potential upside as possible. But actually, is that a wise strategy? Should we be doing that? both Man City and Spurs, as we can see, have really, really nice fixtures, including fixtures in the blank game week, and nice fixtures in the double game week too. So it's not like the 19 fixtures for either side are awful. They're not. That you could easily keep them and hold them through game week 19. Every single season, there are single game weekers who outperform the double game weekers and end up being better options, but they get free hitted out or they get taken out, transferred out by managers looking to replace them with somebody who does better. And in some cases, that somebody who does better ends up not playing in both games because of rotation. So while Spurs and City may not have double game weeks, they do have lovely Christmas fixtures. And in Spurs' case in particular, they have the form to back it up as well. So what should we do with their assets? We've had a lot of questions about this. Of course we have, because as you mentioned earlier, Joe, Son in particular is owned by like 60% of the game. So there's a lot of managers now looking at Spurs assets thinking, what do I do about them? There's a lot of managers looking at the likes of KDB, who didn't return in this nice couple of games that we were expecting him to, thinking, what should we do about him? So Seb has said Son's returns are not sustained at all by the stats. However, he keeps sustaining them. As a player that has overperformed XG significantly for his whole career, do you think he can keep this up? And should we therefore be considering him as a season keeper? James looks at the both of them and says, is it time to put KDB in the bin and get Son in? KDB is creating loads of chances, he says, but his teammates are not converting. Meanwhile, Son is taking all the chances given to him. And Sam, and it wasn't me, is there an advantage for swapping a more expensive midfielder down to Son to invest elsewhere? Ted, what do you think? Spurs and Man City?
So for me, I had a quick look into this. And I posted some stuff earlier this week on Twitter about conversion. If you split out the conversion into what we've been talking about, the big and small chances, Son is massively overperforming in the small chance area, but it's absolutely acceptable conversion level for big chances. So he's had 11 big chances. He's scored, I think, 8 of them, something like that. So it's around a 70% big chance conversion rate. And that's the similar conversion rate as Vardy, Calvert-Lewin, Kane, Salah, Zaha, Fernandes. They're all at that level at the moment. Last year, elite big chance conversion was at around 50 to 60%. So it's not going to come down too much further over the course of the season. So Son, for me, with his big chances, he's doing absolutely as expected. He's just an elite player that knows how to convert big chances. With the small chances, he is massively overperforming. He's had 12 difficult efforts and he scored 3 goals from them. At a 25% conversion rate, that's massive. Kevin De Bruyne last year was the player that had the most difficult effort goals, the small chance goals, with 10, and that was at a conversion rate of 10%. That's massive. So 25% is way too high. He's definitely going to come down with that. But 3 goals going to maybe 1 goal isn't going to make that much of a difference. So as long as he keeps getting his big chances, there's nothing wrong. I don't think Son has to regress at all.
Son taking that chance, what we're seeing with Son, taking those tough chances, he a pass from Kane from midfield, for example, he moves in from the left, moves past a couple of defenders and scores. That's the Son goal I have in my head. Press repeats, and that's difficult to do.
Very difficult.
He's not a tap-in. He's not. There's no tap-ins there. So we've got some stats on the screen there. So Son, 11 big chances, 11 goals, but obviously some of those was converted with small chances. Kane, 10 big chances, 9 goals. And then you're getting down to Sterling, 7 big chances, just 3 goals. De Bruyne, 6 big chances and 2 goals. So Ted, I was wondering, because I found it fascinating what you were saying about Son, as in, because a lot of people are saying it's not sustainable, but you've got to divvy it up in terms of big chances, small chances, and his pedigree. Is this normal Son? It is. Is this normal De Bruyne as well? Getting that low, getting half the big chances Son's getting, and a fifth of the goals.
So it's interesting with De Bruyne because last year he was completely different. I think he wasn't on penalties for half of the season last year. So that's where he's getting his big chances, De Bruyne. And he's okay at converting those. He missed a penalty earlier on. But his small chances, De Bruyne is a technically gifted player. He knows how to shoot. And he was excellent. As I said earlier, he had the most difficult effort goals last season with 10. This year he's had 0. He's not scored any of them, and he's had 30 odd shots or something, and he hasn't converted any of them. What we know De Bruyne is, he's an assister. He's a master creator, and he's been doing absolutely fine with that this season. How many assists he got? One. I take that back.
But I think that has more to do about the Man City teammates, isn't it? Because every time you watch Man City, KDB passes the eye test for me. He's here, there, and everywhere. He's making great passes, which could lead to assists. It's as a non-KDB owner, I spend every Man City game going, I don't want to watch, because every ball that KDB puts in looks like a ball that's going to lead to a goal. But the Manchester City teammates, be that because Aguero's absence is huge, right? And Jesus has obviously had some absence as well, and Sterling has had some as well, and they're missing David Silva this year. So there has been big issues there. So in some ways, I'm not surprised that Man City haven't been capitalising on what KDB is doing, but I do think the thing for me is that KDB is doing all the right stuff. So in theory, that should mean at some point it comes good.
He's playing further advanced. He's playing in a number 10 role. So you would think, well, the stats on the screen there. This is all season, by the way. Shots inside the box, De Bruyne 21. So that's 6 more than Son. Yeah, you look at the number of goals there, and I mean he's had 6 assists there, so he's still doing that element to it. But would he be more productive, weirdly, just sticking to the assists? And what I'm getting at, I guess, is without someone like Aguero there, it's falling onto KDB to take those shots. 21 shots inside the box, but just 2 goals. Son 15 shots inside the box, 11 goals. So that's the sort of telling stats I'm looking at there. I'm wondering if that means De Bruyne's not as good as we think he is in FPL terms. We know he's great in real terms, but
I think what he's doing when I watch him in the games, he's really sitting forward in that number 10 position, which is great from an FPL perspective. But what is interesting is he does change his role occasionally depending on the situation. And I noticed towards the end of last night, when it was a bit of backs to the wall for who were they playing? West Brom. He changed his position, so he sat a tiny bit deeper on the right-hand side, waiting for the pass to be passed into him so that he could cross it into the box as the assister. Yeah. So he tends to divvy up that role. But what is very, very encouraging about him is on the break, he's always the player that's passed to first, and then he feeds either Sterling or Mahrez or Jesus or whoever it is. He's always the key person in those counter-attacks. When they do have a counter-attack, it's very rare. It's normally them that's pressing against the other team.
I know, watching that game, I know exactly. I could see KDB sort of hovering just to that right-hand side of the penalty box, and it was welcome, but it was also a bit frustrating because it was Sterling and Jesus who looked they were in the scoring positions, but it wasn't KDB. And
the thing is, I think also you have to remember that KDB is that much more expensive than Son. And if we're talking about these two players in comparison, we can't talk about them in direct comparison because, KDB is 2 million more to own than Son is. And 2 million is a lot of money in FPL terms when it comes to what that means to the rest of your team. So in owning Son, I have a player who maybe, is slightly overachieving at the moment, but the stats suggest that is a sustainable overachievement, particularly if Kane stays fit for the whole season. The two of them together in their relationship, that they will always be the Spurs' first choices, so they will always be there playing together. Whereas with KDB, the rotation risks at Manchester City are obviously greater, not for him really, but for those around him. And at 2 million more, I want to be investing in somebody. If I'm spending that level, I want to be investing in someone like Salah, who I know is going to get returns. Whereas I'm happy to take the 2 million that I haven't invested in KDB, and that allows me to have a much better front line of players that are potentially going to score more goals than, say, owning 3 6.0 forwards would, or owning a backline of just 4.5 million defenders. I can have some slightly more expensive ones on that basis. And I think that that's something that as FPL managers we should be considering and we should be factoring into when we're looking at the numbers and the fixtures. Yes, the fixtures look great for both Son and KDB over the Christmas period. The stats look decent for both of them, but the price difference is huge. And
yeah, I think if you look at it in isolation, KDB versus Son, I think Son wins. Not just in terms of FPL output. There's a huge difference in FPL points, huge difference in the stats, and as you've said, there's a huge difference in the money because that money
for his benefit, right?
Yeah, and so it benefits. Then you can move that individual decision out to the rest of the team and think it's actually going to benefit that full 11 I'm going to put out each week. We got the fixtures up on the screen. Tottenham have Leicester and Wolves, then Fulham, Leeds, Villa, Sheffield United. They've got a great run, I think, actually, from now. But the great run is from 16, really, if you want to look at it that way. By coincidence, KDB and Man City have Southampton, Newcastle at home, and then they have Everton. And Everton's defence has got really good recently, and Chelsea away. And then they got Brighton at home and Crystal Palace. In Game Week 18, if you're free hitting, you can just get KDB in anyway. Game Week 19, he's got a single game week. Potentially got to have a think about double game week, but so far just a single game week. I look at those fixtures, I look at those stats, I look at your argument there about the budget, Sam, which I think is really most telling. And it says to me that Son's more of an option than a City midfielder.
And I do think that those Man City fixtures, on paper they look great, but then you think about Southampton and the way that they've been playing, and defensively they've been really solid, and I don't see them giving up a lot of goals to Manchester City. Yes, Man City will probably score, but I don't see them scoring 5. And then the other fixtures, they're not, on paper they look great, but in reality, are they? Chelsea have been really good defensively this season. Crystal Palace can defend well when they want to. Brighton, when they want to, can defend well. So these aren't teams that get hammered every week that they've got coming up. And as you said, Everton have improved dramatically of late. So I don't know. I mean, for me, I think, Seb asks, is he a season keeper? I think he is. I think Son, I cannot see him leaving my team. I mean, I have so much value invested in him as well, which is the other big thing, is that he's not one of those players that I can switch around. Like, upside chasing won't work for me because of the level of investment that I now have built in him. Getting him back is too hard. So for me, I think Son is one of those that every week I look at and go, you're going to have to be my make way for KDB. And then I go, no thanks, I'll stick with Son.
I mean, I'm sort of almost there, making a move to do that. You're already there, Sam. Ted, I know you're not there. You're not. So from the different perspective, you're definitely keeping hold of KDB, and obviously you've shown the graphs that indicate that would be a wise move as well.
Yeah, I was going to counter Sam's argument, I think. The problem is that we have as FPL managers is that there are a lot of premiums to fit in our sides. Fernandes, Salah, De Bruyne, Son and Kane are the main ones. Now, if we ignore Kane just for the sake of argument, focusing on midfielders, Son is an excellent asset. We know that. He's cheaper. Now, my argument is that if we think about it in ceilings and floors, Tottenham as an outfit don't tend to score that many goals each game, excluding the drummings of Southampton and Man United at the start of the season. I think there was a 3-3 with West Ham at some point, but they've only ever scored over 2 goals in one game 3 times in those 3 occasions. So if we think about it, if Son's going to get a goal or an assist each game, Man City have the capacity to thump teams 5-6 goals maybe, and sometimes
I don't think they do in the next few weeks. I think you're. See, I totally disagree. I look at those fixtures and I think Southampton, absolutely no way on earth that they concede more than 2-3 goals. No chance. Newcastle, yes, I'll give you that one. Everton, no, I don't think that they're going to get hammered. Chelsea, definitely not. Brighton, I can't see it. The stats for Brighton defensively are good. I don't see that happening. Crystal Palace, again, I don't see it happening there. I think these fixtures look good for goals, but I don't think they look great for huge goals. And I think the points at Man City will be spread across KDB, Salah, KDB, Sterling, Torres if he's playing, Mahrez if he's playing, Aguero if he's playing, Jesus if he's playing. They're all going to get them. At Spurs, they might only get 2 goals, but you're guaranteed they're coming from Son and Kane. Here's another goal at Man City. It's yet again not Fernandes.
Oh, it's just Rashford. See, this is the other thing. If you're thinking of getting Son in, he can be moved to Rashford, nice and easy. If you're thinking of price points there, but just waiting to see who the assist is.
It's not Bruno.
Oh god.
No, move from Pogba.
Well, Lindelof again.
It's Pogba.
Oh,
it is Bruno. Oh,
No,
it's not.
It's Martial to Rashford.
Martial to Rashford.
So
dear.
Sheffield United are rubbish, and everyone at Manchester United's in the points.
He's everywhere though. He's
Bruno
everywhere.
again, assister of the assist. So he's basically the Modric. So this was always the fear with Fernandes. Would he be the Modric, mate? No. Oh well.
So Sheffield United are so rubbish that it's the players playing furthest forward that are getting the chances, whereas Fernandes is usually the guy.
It's so rubbish. Martial has scored. Before we move on to the next 4 fixtures, I just wanted to say that a lot of people would think, why have I not got Liverpool and Manchester United in this as well? Well, despite Bruno doing his best not to give us points tonight, looking at the double game weeks coming up and looking at the rest of the fixtures over Christmas, I think a Liverpool and a Manchester United heavyweight, whichever way you want to go, it would be very, very ideal, really. So, personally, I'm not entertaining the thought of getting rid of them, but other people might want to. But that's why I personally didn't put those stats up. But feel free to have a look in the Fantasy Football Scout members area if you want to have a look at Manchester United and Liverpool, and also look at their fixtures as well. But I think they're both great captaincy shouts for Game Week 19, and I don't have a wild card, so that's what I'm thinking of there. But yeah, talk about their fixtures. So look at the next 4 fixtures, and we're also doing this with Football Index, which is you can sign up to take advantage of the 7-day £500 money back guarantee. There's a link in the description below to sign up, as well as a link to check out the full terms and conditions for 18 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Check out begambleaware.org, and there's a link for this in the description as well. So yeah, fantasy, as I said, Football Index, that's where you can buy and sell shares, players using fantasy football knowledge. So we've got those fixtures up there for that game, but also obviously for FPL. They show that Burnley is absolutely top in the top for the next 4. They've got Wolves, Leeds, Sheffield United and Fulham. Then we've got Liverpool, and this is why I didn't entertain the possibility of removing Salah, but other people might want to, because they've got Crystal Palace, West Brom, Newcastle and Southampton coming up next. Sheffield United have good fixtures, but as we've seen tonight, they've crumbled again. Tottenham, good fixtures. They're 4th in the list. Leicester, Wolves, Fulham and Leeds. But not right down the bottom, but near the bottom, you've got Man City, with Everton and Chelsea and Southampton considered not good by the bigwigs at Fixture HQ here. And right at the bottom, you've got Newcastle, they've got City and Liverpool. That's what you don't want. You don't want City and Liverpool. And they got both back to back in game weeks 15 and 16. Chelsea, not so good down there, but good for the double game week. So getting Reece James and Chilwell in is something I'm considering, I must admit. But even though they're quite further down, but against Villa and West Ham, I think possibility of clean sheets there. But yeah, looking at these fixtures here, anything spring out? Any ideas about players to get in, or either of you?
It's not ideal having Burnley and Sheffield United at the top of the fixture tickle, is it? It doesn't inspire picks, does it? But yeah, the player that I want to focus on, and he's not necessarily at the top of the fixture ticker, but he's coming into form at the right moment, is Jarrod Bowen. I think only De Bruyne has had more shots than him in the last 6 game weeks. So they may not be big chances, but he's showing a lot of intent. West Ham have Chelsea, Brighton, Southampton, Everton. So he could get something in Brighton, maybe Southampton. They do play with a high line, potentially. And Everton, I mean, Everton on paper seems like a more difficult fixture, but I think it was last week they were top of the list for number of big chances conceded. And I don't know whether Pickford being dropped is going to be a permanent thing, but maybe that does inspire Everton to be a better
they've
defense.
changed their... Because they haven't got Coleman or Dean, so they've got 4 centre-backs, and the centre-backs are sort of doing the full-back job, but they're also obviously much more defence-minded, so you've got this really nice structure, but obviously, as a Calvert-Lewin owner, I'm lucky enough to get a goal or an assist. I don't think I'm going to get many braces out of him.
Yeah.
But the Everton defence there with Arsenal and Sheffield United, the next 2, they're great, aren't they? They're good fixtures.
They're not bad. But we're moving on to talk about Everton now. Let's move back to West Ham.
Yeah.
And my main man, Jarrod Bowen.
Yeah.
And it obviously was a double game week as well, so it's an additional incentive to get him in. So I think he's also a creator as well. I think he's 5th in midfielders for big chances created. So I think he's an all-round threat, and he'll be certainly on my watch list going forward. So, Sam, what do you think? What are your picks for this next 4 fixtures?
I've got a couple that I think potentially are decent assets. I mean, let's leave out Salah, Son and Kane, because I think they're just kind of obvious picks. But you'll be pleased about this one, Joe, because I'm going to pick out Lamptey. I think for me, the really interesting thing about Lamptey is we all saw at the beginning of the season just how attacking he can be, and he has that leash to kind of go, and so there's always goal and assist potential from him. And he's been a bit of a frustrating own for me for the majority of the season, on the basis that Brighton, all the underlying stats have suggested that they should be keeping clean sheets, yet they haven't really kept clean sheets. But what we saw last night was a clean sheet against Fulham, against a Fulham side who actually were more attacking than they have been in previous weeks gone by, and who had come off a good result against Liverpool the week before. He was obviously back from his little hamstring niggle that he had that kept him out of game week 12 with 6-pointer. I think, he's looking like a decent option. Then you look at the fixtures. Sheffield United, well, I mean, yes, okay, they've scored tonight, but I mean, really, it wasn't exactly, it wasn't exactly a good goal by Sheffield United. After that, yes, West Ham, that's difficult, but West Ham will attack and that will leave Lamptey some space. Arsenal, again, a bit like Sheffield United, haven't exactly been on high scoring form. And then Wolves without Jimenez, well, we're starting to see a bit of a mixed bag with Wolves. Some weeks really good, some weeks not so good. So I'm looking at Lamptey, who's been on my kind of hit list for a while now, thinking, actually, over the next 4 weeks, I think you look like a really decent option, because I can see a couple of clean sheets in there, but also I can see teams that are going to give him space, in which an attack might just give him some attacking returns as well. So I think he looks like a nice option.
So we usually pick a differential this time as well. So have you got... I haven't looked at Lamptey's ownership. I don't even know how well owned he is at the moment, but do you have a differential in mind, or was Lamptey your differential?
No. So Lamptey's owned by 10.7%.
Really? That surprises me.
Yeah, he's actually fairly well owned. I do have a differential.
Okay.
It is a little bit rogue, but those who watch the FPL family regularly will know that I always go for this chap around Christmas. He's the player that I always say he's for Christmas, not for the whole season. And that's Firmino at Liverpool. So Firmino in December is like Firmino at no other time of the year. Back in December 2000, I don't know, he just goes mad at Christmas.
Okay.
Back in December 2017, he got 7 goals in all competitions. In 2018, he got a hat-trick against Arsenal, followed 5 days later by a goal against Man City. A brace against Leicester in 2019, as well as a goal against Spurs, 2 goals in the Club World Cup. And this season, he's already started with his goal last night and then the 3 bonus points at Spurs. I don't know what it is about Firmino, but he tends to bulk his points into December. I've no idea why. But
He
it's
just likes to
every
get into
year.
the festive spirit, doesn't
He
he?
Yeah.
does. He does. It's like a Christmas present.
His teeth as white as snow.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think maybe he's Father Christmas in disguise.
Do you think he
Now,
spots drunk players or full up players from the Christmas meals? He spots them and pounces, and as
who
like a
knows?
Brazilian
But
predator.
it's always Christmas, and at no other point in the season is he this. I was going to say prolific, but it doesn't all come at once.
Yeah.
Normally, it's like a goal here, a goal there during the rest of the season, or an assist here, an assist there. But at Christmas, he tends to bulk them. Now, look, he isn't cheap. So it's not like, oh, I'll take a cheap punt. And we've already been talking during the whole of the show about how it's hard with the premiums, and we're talking about another premium here at 9.2. But he is hugely differential. He's 2.2% owned. He also sits third in the ICT index for creativity and fifth for threat. So again, if he can get into these goal scoring habits, he's going to be high on the bonus points register as well, because he's doing all the right things. So I think if you fancy a cheeky punt for Christmas, Bobby might be a man.
Okay.
I like it.
Do you know what? As you were talking there, I was suddenly looking back and thinking there was a couple of Decembers where I did own Firmino, and I did do really well at Christmas, and it perhaps was because of him.
I always bring him in. Every Christmas I bring him in. This year I'm going to struggle to do it because the way my team's set up. But I always bring him in around this point, and he always goes on a little run. It's hilarious. It's every year. I triple captained him in January last year on that basis.
Isn't it always home or away that he scores? I don't think he got a home goal for ages last
Not
season,
last year, yeah. He got one right at the end, didn't he?
It's December, and he got one this week. Just a few days
he's all right
ago.
this season.
Yeah, that's true. It's the beginning. It's the beginning of
Okay.
something big for Firmino, isn't it?
Okay.
And I've got a bit of a differential, just a quick one. Fabio Silva at Wolves, 5.2 million. He's having a run in the team with the absence of Raul Jimenez. Hasn't done anything yet, but he did look lively. He had a goal. He had a shot against the inside of the post that came out at the weekend. He looks quite classy, and I think, what was it, 40 million they paid for him?
Classy and
Something like that.
Podence and Neto, they look really good. I didn't.
Yeah, for Fabio Silva, 5.2 million.
Yeah. He's okay.
You're really, really punty.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking of Podence actually. It's funny, isn't it? Like one move or something persuades you, and he did it last time. Didn't he nutmeg KDB or something earlier in the season? And in his goal this time around was amazing. It was just one of those sort of, like a matador. It was amazing, taking on I think I've seen Chris Waddle score that goal before, but it was good. It was Waddle good.
I think Podence is going to draw you in again, though. And
yeah.
Then
I don't think I'm going to go there, but I think it would be. I mean, he'd be the one I was looking at if I was to go there. Neto, I don't know. He's just too maverick for me. He's too exciting. Maybe I will go.
He's like one of those players that has great stats all the time.
God.
And he's always just hovering about.
Like,
and you never pick it, and then he just scores.
Be like running into church wearing a tutu or something for me. It's just like that'd be so outlandish and flair. Okay, let's move on to our teams. See what we're going to do. So, vote me first because I don't know what I'm going to do. I've got because I just don't know what to do. I've got 2 free transfers. I've got McCarthy, Lamptey's against Sheffield United. So Chilwell, Kufau. So I'm okay with that. I mean, McCarthy, yes, is against Man City, but he turned into the Italy goalkeeper last time that Man City came to town, and as the whole defence did. And I just think I'm going to get save points. I've got 3-4-3: Soucek, De Bruyne, Fernandes captain, and Salah. Calvert-Lewin, Kane, Bamford. On my bench, I've got I've gone deep. I've got Luke Ayling. I've got Steer, Stevens, Mitchell. So I've got 0.2 in the bank. I have if I could either just burn the transfer, which I haven't done for ages, but I might do, which seems weird. Yeah, which is weird since I sort of need to build up for the double game week. But the only thing I could possibly think of doing is to swap Ayling to Dallas because
sideways.
Just go sideways because I don't.
Come on, Joe.
because I
That's
don't.
so dull.
Well, or I could just, I could put my 2-2 on, get Neto in, but I'm gonna get if I was a better manager, I would do De Bruyne to Son.
Do it.
And then I would swap Mitchell to James, because Reece James, underlying stats wise, is the most attacking defender at the moment, and he has a double game week, and he plays for Chelsea, a top side, who are one of the best defences, if not the best defence at the moment, even though the clean sheets appear to have dried up, but an underlying stats. So that would be the bold move.
What's your double game week plans, Joe?
I don't know, and that's my decision, because I can either do triple captain and just field the best 11 I can, or go for a full 15 and gradually build up by swapping De Bruyne to Son. That frees up enough money to, over the weeks, build up. Get maybe Johnston in for Steer, maybe, and then I can get a cheap defender in for Stevens. And obviously Mitchell I'll be upgrading this week. So it's just 3 more transfers I need to do, really.
Yeah, it's interesting because from your argument, you don't want to tear your team apart. You don't want to take the Calvert-Lewins out. You don't want to take the Kanes out necessarily and sort of make it less of appealing in the short term, which is possibly what I am doing. And it's something of a concern, but we will see.
Yeah, other people might be in this position as well. And I look at my particular team and I just think I'd need to find a tiny bit more money, and Son is the glaring omission. So who makes way? That's the age-old question. For me at the moment, De Bruyne would be the one to make way. Sam, let's move on to your team. You got McCarthy, Chilwell, Cresswell, all the Wells, Diaz, Lamptey, Salah, Son, Fernandes, Kane, captain. I think he's my vice. Did I put a vice captain on him?
Got a hugely impressive record against Leicester.
He's my vice captain, so that means he's in my thoughts for the captaincy. Kane captain, Calvert-Lewin, Watkins. Yeah. And on your good bench, you've got Basuma, who could get something in this game against Sheffield United, Walker-Peters and Souček. I'd perhaps move Basuma, I don't know, famous last words, but Basuma above Walker-Peters, possibly, just in case.
Potentially. I think this week I'm going to do Watkins to Bamford. That's going to happen this week because the double game week, everything that we've been talking about so far. Plus, Bamford is really, really good away. Not so great at home, but he is returning week upon week upon week at the moment. And Watkins, yes, Aston Villa still have nice fixtures, and yes, it's West Brom away next, but I am expecting a bit of new manager bounce from West Brom.
Yeah.
We always get new manager bounce, and I don't think that they'll be quite the walkover that Aston Villa would hope that they would be, or that we necessarily as FPL managers expect them to be. I think, there'll be players out there wanting to impress Allardyce in his first game in charge. So, yeah, Watkins is going to go for Bamford. I still then have a free transfer. And there is a big part of me that wants to take out Diaz this week, but it's difficult because obviously the Manchester City fixtures are nice. So I think I'll just hold my second transfer and leave it for a little bit longer. I think I'll keep him. But if I go down the bench boost route for game week 19, then Diaz will leave, and I'll probably look to bring in. Maybe might go back to Dallas again. I've had Dallas once already this season, but bring him in. And then that leaves me with over $1 million in the bank. And that $1 million in the bank I can use to upgrade my second keeper for that period of time, so that I have 2 keepers to play in my bench boost team. So that feels like the way I'm heading.
Yeah, no, my thoughts are sort of moving towards your, not the same setup, but it's definitely having Son, Salah, Fernandes as the backbone of that. They're the ones I can rely on. Kane, I think, is great to have, especially over Christmas, nailed on to play.
It's captainable every week, pretty much.
I mean, you're
I was going to say, do you ever move the captain off Kane, Sam?
So I do. I'm just on Fernandes at the minute. I think So I've for the last few weeks I set and forget on Kane for 4 weeks, and then I pretty much set and forget on Bruno for 4 weeks, and I'll be going back to Kane for the next few weeks, I think. He just looks like a really nice captainable option. This fixture against Leicester, he will go into that being like, yes, please.
That header, I mean, the thing about Kane is what I like about him, he's ruthless. I mean, you don't score that many goals. And when that header went down, the look on his face was
horrified.
He was horrified that he'd done that.
Like me.
Yeah,
I was.
he knew there was ways to score then, and he didn't do it. And I just always think with him, you sort of want a fired up Kane like that.
You do. Absolutely, you do.
I
think that's what I'm going to do. One transfer.
Yeah, that's very wise.
Captain Kane.
I think Bamford's great. He's got the double game week. Leeds got good fixtures. He might not score a hatful. I mean, or he can. He's capable of it. But
he's going to probably get more than Watkins.
You're going to get points. Definitely. Leeds are so attacking. Ted, look at your team. You got Martinez in goal, Cancelo, the great Lindelof, the assist machine, Chilwell, just one well. Fernandes, Son, De Bruyne, Salah, Grealish. That's a midfield, isn't it? Welbeck and Adams, and then on your bench you got Dallas, Brewster, the mighty Douglas, and McCarthy. So yeah, what's your immediate plans this week? I mean, that midfield is, you've got to be happy with that.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm going to save a transfer. The plan is to do next week Cancelo and Welbeck to Soufal and Bamford. After the Man United fixture for Bamford, I think he has a good run of fixtures after that. But for me, it's full steam ahead. Double game week. I'll be going all in on the double game week. So the fact I'm missing out on key players such as Calvert-Lewin, I'm trying to maximise how much I get out of Son. It might punish me, as you say, Sam, in the single game week. But it's just I need.
It does.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll get "I told you so" by the end of it, but it's a matter of getting the most out of each position, and I do need to sacrifice one of my premiums in order to do that. So if I keep the option open until game week 17, and De Bruyne is having a stinker, then I could just change my plan and get rid of De Bruyne. But in the end, I'm going to be using all five transfers on getting in double game week players. 3 of them West Ham, one of them another Chelsea player, and one of them a Southampton or something. I can't remember. But yeah, I'll have 12 double game week players and 3 singles, and I'll use a free hit and 18.
Okay, just before we go, I'm just checking the lineups for Manchester United. Yes, Fernandes is still on the pitch.
He's still on the pitch. He's taking a corner currently.
There's still quarter of an hour to go. There's still time for his mega haul that he always gets away. I think Benjamin Disraeli was Prime Minister last time he didn't blanked away. So let's see. Hope that doesn't happen again. Okay. It's gone a bit overextended because there's a lot of pauses with us waiting for Fernandes to score. So we've waited a long time and he's not going to do it. But that'll have to be after the show. But in the meantime, I just want to point out some of the members area. So we've had loads of stats, the season ticker as well, in particular. The season ticker's gone out into overdrive at the moment, especially with the blanks and the doubles. Do have a look at that. It really helps to visualise it. And of course, it's been great to have Ted's graphs as well to visualise the characteristics of teams a bit more. But in the meantime, it's a goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.